If I told you 3 years of trust can shatter like a vase in just 30 seconds, would you believe me? Well, J1 didn't either, until he experienced it firsthand in the most devastating way possible. He stood in the corporate lobby, staring through the glass wall. The woman he'd die for had her hand on another man's chest. His hand rested on her face, the kind of touch that tells you everything. Except this time, what it told him might not be the whole story. Was it betrayal? Or was he missing something? Whatever the truth was, you're about to find out. Before we dive deeper, smash that like button because it only gets better from here. I'm putting out quality content like this regularly, and you don't want to miss any of it. Hit subscribe, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Let's go. 28 floors up, Jemsa sat at her desk, staring at the same spreadsheet she'd been staring at for the past hour. The numbers blurred together. They always did now, ever since that night a month ago when she'd clicked send on the wrong proposal. One email, one catastrophic mistake, a $47 million deal gone. Her boss, Director Choi, had made sure she understood exactly what that meant for her future. Every single day since. The elevator dinged. Heads turned across the office floor. J1 stepped out, black suit sharp enough to cut glass, a dozen red roses cradled in his tattooed hands. Whispers rippled through the cubicles. Everyone knew who he was, or at least what he was. You didn't run half of Seoul's underground network without people recognizing your face. Jemsa's coworker grabbed her arm. Your man's here. She looked up. Her heart should have leaped. Instead, it dropped straight through the floor. Because Director Choi was walking toward her desk at that exact moment, and she knew what was coming. He'd been doing this for weeks now, finding reasons to get close, to touch, to remind her that her career lived and died by his word. J1 smiled, holding up the roses. From where he stood near the elevator, the scene probably looked normal. A boss checking on an employee. Nothing unusual. 30 seconds. That's all it would take for everything to fall apart. Director Choi reached Jemsa's desk. His hand landed on her shoulder, fingers pressing just hard enough to make his point. We need to discuss the Hanwha contract. My office. Now. Director Choi. Now, Ms. Park. She stood because she had no choice. Behind the forced smile she'd perfected over the past month, her stomach twisted into knots. J1 was here. God, J1 was here, and she was being summoned to her boss's office like she had been every day this week, and there was no way to explain without explaining everything. The thing about glass-walled offices is that they hide nothing. J1's smile faded as he watched Jemsa follow Director Choi toward the corner office. His grip tightened on the rose stems. Thorns bit into his palm. He didn't feel it. Something was off. He'd learned to read body language in rooms where the wrong red got you killed. Jemsa's shoulders were too tense, her steps too careful, and the way that man's hand lingered on her lower back as he guided her through the door. That wasn't professional courtesy. The door closed behind them. Through the glass, J1 could see everything. Director Choi moved around his desk. Jemsa stayed near the door. Then Choi said something, and Jemsa's whole body went rigid. What happened next would replay in J1's mind for days. Director Choi stepped closer. Too close. His hand reached for Jemsa's face. And from where J1 stood, frozen 30 feet away with dying roses in his hands, it looked like she let him. The angle made it seem like she leaned into it, like her hand on Choi's chest was pulling him closer instead of pushing him away. J1's world tilted. He'd killed men for less than this. Burned businesses to the ground over smaller insults. But this was the woman he'd planned to marry. The one person he'd let past every wall he'd ever built. The only softness in a life made of sharp edges. The roses hit the floor. Petals scattered across polished marble as J1 turned and walked toward the elevator. His movements were controlled, mechanical. People stepped back instinctively, recognizing the danger in that kind of calm. Inside the office, Jemsa shoved Choi away with enough force to make him stumble. Don't touch me. You don't have that luxury anymore. Choi straightened his tie, that sick smile never leaving his face. 47 million, remember? Your mistake. Your debt. Unless you want me to forward those emails to the board. I'll tell them what you've been doing. Will you? He laughed. You think anyone will believe you over me? I'm a director. You're a junior analyst who cost this company enough money to end careers. Who's the villain in that story? Jemsa's hands shook. Not from fear anymore. From rage. From the suffocating weight of this nightmare she'd been living for 4 weeks. Unable to tell anyone. Unable to escape. She turned toward the glass wall, just in time to see Jae-won's back disappearing into the elevator. Her heart stopped. No, he'd seen. Whatever Choi had just done, Jae-won had witnessed it through the glass, and from that angle, from that distance. Oh God! Jemsa ran, shoved past Choi, yanked open the door, sprinted across the office floor. Her heels clattered against marble. Co-workers stared. She didn't care. The elevator doors were closing. Jae-won, wait. His eyes met hers through the narrowing gap. What she saw there stopped her cold. Not anger. Anger she could have handled. This was worse. This was betrayal crystallized into something so sharp it cut just to look at. The doors closed. Jemsa stood in the hallway, breathing hard, feeling her entire world crumble. Behind her, red petals were scattered across the floor like drops of blood. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jae-won. 5 words that felt like a death sentence. Don't call me again. Jemsa called anyway. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. A third time, and the automated message told her what she already knew. He'd blocked her number. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking as she stood in that hallway. Rose petals at her feet like evidence of something beautiful that had just died. Around her, co-workers pretended to work while absolutely watching the drama unfold. Seoul's most dangerous man had just walked out on his fiancé in front of everyone. By tomorrow, the story would spread through every corporate floor in Gangnam. Director Choi appeared in his doorway. Done with your little scene? We still have work to discuss. Something snapped inside her. Go to hell. She grabbed her bag and walked straight to the elevator. Choi's voice followed her. Something about consequences, about her career, about how she'd regret this. Let him talk. She'd spent a month being afraid of him. Right now, fear felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. The elevator ride down felt like falling. By the time she reached the lobby, Jae-won was long gone. His car, the black Genesis he'd custom-ordered last year, the one she'd helped him choose, had already pulled away from the curb. She stood on the sidewalk, Seoul's afternoon chaos flowing around her like she wasn't even there. Her phone buzzed. A message from her sister. Just saw your man leaving your building. He looked like someone died. Everything okay? Jemsa's fingers hovered over the keyboard. How could she possibly explain? That she'd made a mistake that cost millions. That her boss had been blackmailing her, touching her, backing her into corners for weeks. That Jae-won had finally shown up at the worst possible moment and seen something that wasn't what it looked like at all. She deleted the half-written response and called Jae-won again. Blocked. Pain hit her chest so hard she had to lean against the building. This man had taken a bullet for her once. Literally, when a deal went wrong in Itaewon 2 years ago. He'd held her through nightmares, learned to cook her favorite dishes despite burning everything the first 20 attempts, picked her up from work every Friday without fail. And now he wouldn't even let her explain. The taxi ride home was a blur. She tried his number from different phones. Her work cell, her sister's phone, even the taxi drivers after she offered him double the fare. All blocked. Jae-won was thorough when he wanted to be. In his world, cutting someone off meant complete silence. Her apartment felt wrong when she walked in. Too quiet. Too empty. The coffee cup Jae-won had left on the counter that morning. He'd stayed over last night, had kissed her forehead before she left for work, had promised to surprise her later. This was the surprise. Roses and heartbreak. She tried texting from a new number she borrowed from a friend. Please, just listen. What you saw wasn't. The message turned green before she could finish. Blocked again. He must have been blocking every unknown number that tried to reach him. Days blurred together after that. Jemsa stopped going to work. Let Director Choi fire her if he wanted. She'd spent a month protecting a career that had already ended the moment she sent that wrong email. What was the point now? Her sister brought food she didn't eat. Friends called with concerns she couldn't answer. The apartment that had felt like home, filled with Jae-won's hoodies in her closet, his toothbrush by her sink, his presence in every corner, now felt like a museum of something dead. On the third day, she drove to his penthouse in Hanamdong. The security guard recognized her, but shook his head before she could speak. Boss left strict instructions. You're not allowed up. I just need 5 minutes. Please. Just tell him I'm here. Mississippi Park, I could lose my job. Then lose it. Her voice cracked. Tell him Jemsa is here, and she's not leaving until he talks to her. The guard shifted uncomfortably. Made a call. Spoke in low tones. Hung up and looked at her with something like pity. He says he has nothing to say to you. If you don't leave, he'll have you removed. Removed. Like she was a stranger. like the past 3 years meant absolutely nothing. Jemsa sat down on the lobby floor. Miss, you can't. Then remove me. She stayed there for 6 hours. The guard called up twice more. J1's answer never changed. Eventually, building management arrived. A woman in a crisp suit explained that this was private property, and unless Jemsa left voluntarily, they'd involve the police. Walking back to her car felt like accepting death. Her phone rang as she started the engine. Unknown number. Her heart leaped. Maybe he'd finally. Ms. Park, this is Director Choi's assistant. He wanted me to inform you that your employment has been terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you to collect your belongings tomorrow at 9. Also, he's filed a formal complaint about your conduct. HR will be in touch. The call ended. Jemsa sat in her car outside J1's building and laughed. Actually laughed, because what else could she do? Her career was destroyed. The man she loved had cut her out of his life like she never existed. And the predator who'd spent a month making her life hell had won. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Director Choi himself. Told you there would be consequences, but I'm willing to make this all go away. Meet me tomorrow, and we'll discuss your options. Privately. The message came with an address. A hotel in Gangnam. Room number included. Jemsa's hands tightened on the steering wheel. No more running. No more being afraid. If she'd already lost everything, her job, her reputation, J1, then she had nothing left to lose. Time to fight back. Quick question. Have you ever been shut out by someone you love when you desperately needed them to listen? That feeling of being invisible to the one person who's supposed to see you? Comment your thoughts below. Jemsa didn't go to the hotel. Instead, she went somewhere far more dangerous. To the one person who might actually be able to help, even if he currently hated her guts. Min-jae answered his door at 2 in the morning holding a gun. J1's right-hand man lowered the weapon when he recognized her. But his expression didn't soften. You've got some nerve showing up here. I need to see him. Not happening. Min-jae, please. Do you have any idea what you did to him? Min-jae's voice dropped to something cold and flat. I've known J1 for 15 years. Watched him build an empire, survive 3 assassination attempts, bury his entire family. Never seen him break. Not once. Until 3 days ago when he came back from your office looking like someone had carved out his heart with a dull knife. Tears burned Jemsa's eyes. It's not what he thinks. Then what is it? Because from where I'm standing, he surprised you at work and caught you with your boss. Pretty straightforward. My boss has been blackmailing me. The words hung in the air between them. Min-jae's expression shifted slightly. Explain. So she did. Everything. The email mistake, the 47 million, the month of threats and unwanted touches and corners she couldn't escape. How Choi had her backed into a position where speaking up meant destroying herself. How J1 had arrived at the worst possible moment and seen something completely different from the truth. When she finished, Min-jae was quiet for a long moment. Why didn't you tell J1 from the start? Because I was ashamed. Her voice cracked. Because I made a stupid mistake that cost millions, and I thought I could fix it myself. Because every time I tried to tell him, I imagined him looking at me differently, like I was weak or incompetent or like you were human. Jemsa looked up. Min-jae sighed, running a hand through his hair. You really don't get it, do you? That man would burn the world down for you. Would have helped you the second you told him. Instead, you kept it secret, and now he thinks the worst. I know I messed up, but I need him to understand what actually happened. He won't see you. Then you tell him. You think he'll believe me? He saw what he saw. And J1, when he decides something, changing his mind is like moving a mountain with chopsticks. Desperation clawed at Jemsa's throat. Director Choi sent me a message tonight. Wants me to meet him at a hotel tomorrow. Privately. To discuss my options. Min-jae's expression went dark. Don't. I'm not planning to. But I need evidence. Proof of what he's been doing. That's the only way J1 might believe me. Or you could go to the police. With what? His word against mine? He's a company director. I'm the employee who cost 47 million and got fired for misconduct. Who do you think they'll believe? She had a point. Min-jae knew how these things worked. Power protected power, and the system wasn't built for justice. What are you asking me to do? Jemsa met his eyes. Help me get evidence. Then get it to J1. Make him listen. This is insane. I know. Min-jae studied her for a long moment. Whatever he saw there must have convinced him, because he stepped back and opened the door wider. Get in here. We need to plan this properly. Meanwhile, across the city, Jae-won sat in his penthouse with a bottle of whiskey and no intention of sleeping. 3 days. It had been 3 days since he'd seen Jemsa with her boss, and the image was burned into his brain like a brand. Every time he closed his eyes, there it was. Her hand on that man's chest, the way she'd seemed to lean into his touch, the intimacy of that moment visible through transparent walls. He'd played it over and over, searching for alternative explanations. Maybe the angle was wrong. Maybe he'd misread the situation. But the more he analyzed it, the worse it looked. The way they'd been alone in that office, the door closed, her boss's hand on her face with a familiarity that spoke of repetition. How long had it been going on? That question haunted him most. Had she been playing him the whole time? Was their entire relationship a lie, while she carried on with her corporate boss? His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He blocked it without reading the message. She'd tried reaching him at least 50 times from different phones. What could she possibly say that would change what he'd seen with his own eyes? A knock on his door interrupted the spiral. Go away, Min-jae. It's important. Don't care. The door opened anyway. Min-jae had keys to everywhere, occupational necessity. He walked in, took one look at Jae-won's state, and grabbed the whiskey bottle. You're done with this. Give it back. No. Min-jae set it on the far counter. We need to talk. If this is about her, it's about you being an idiot. Jae-won's eyes went cold. Watch yourself. Or what? You'll cut me off too? Add me to the list of people you're shutting out because you're hurt. Min-jae sat down across from him. I get it. You're in pain. What you saw destroyed you. But you didn't see the whole picture. I saw enough. Did you? Because here's what you didn't see. The month before that moment. The mistake she made at work. The boss who's been blackmailing her. The sexual harassment she's been enduring because she was trying to protect her career. Jae-won went very still. What? You saw 5 seconds through a glass wall. You didn't see the part where she pushed him away. Didn't hear the threats he's been making. Didn't know she's been living in hell for weeks. Too ashamed to tell you. You're lying. Am I? Then explain why she got fired 3 days ago. Why her boss is now pressuring her to meet him at a hotel. Why she came to my door at 2 in the morning begging for help because the man she loves won't even let her speak. Jae-won stood abruptly. The whiskey glass on the table shattered as his hand swept past it. What hotel? Sit down. Tell me where. Not until you listen to the full story. Min-jae's voice carried that specific tone he used when dealing with Jae-won's more destructive impulses. You storm in there now, you'll make everything worse. We need evidence first. Evidence of what? That he's been touching her? Threatening her? Jae-won's voice dropped to something lethal. I don't need evidence to end him. Yes, you do. Because Jemsa needs this done right. Through channels that actually protect her, not just your version of justice. The words hit harder than Min-jae probably intended. Jae-won sank back into his chair, the fight draining out of him as reality settled in. He'd spent 3 days convinced Jemsa had betrayed him. 3 days refusing her calls while she was actually being victimized by someone else. While she needed him. Tell me everything. Min-jae did. The full story. The email mistake. The $47 million loss. Director Choi's systematic blackmail and harassment. How Jemsa had been trapped between ruining her career and enduring abuse. How she'd been too ashamed of her mistake to ask for help. The moment you saw, Min-jae finished, wasn't her leaning in. It was him forcing himself on her while she tried to push him away. The angle made it look different. Jae-won's hands clenched into fists. I need to see her. She's not home. She's preparing. Preparing for what? To get the evidence we need. Tomorrow, she's going to meet Choi while wearing a wire. We record his threats, his harassment, everything. Then we take him down properly. Absolutely not. Jae-won stood again. You're not sending her into a room alone with that. It's her choice. Then I'm changing her mind. Jae-won. Min-jae blocked the door. You shut her out for 3 days. Wouldn't let her explain, wouldn't listen. You don't get to suddenly take control now just because you feel guilty. The words stung because they were true. But, Min-jae continued, you can help. We wire her properly, have people positioned nearby, make sure she's safe. You want to protect her? That's how you do it. Jemsa sat in Min-jae's safe house, running through the plan for the 100th time. Meet Director Choi at the hotel. Get him talking. Record everything. Simple. Terrifying but simple. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She'd stopped answering those. Jae-won had made it clear he wasn't interested in hearing from her. The text that came through made her heart stop. It's me. Min-jae told me everything. I'm sorry. Please don't go to that hotel tomorrow. Let me handle this. Her hands shook as she typed back. You believe me? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I should have listened from the start. I'm sorry I didn't. Tears spilled down her cheeks. For days of carrying this weight alone, and those simple words cracked something open inside her. But relief mixed with anger. At him for shutting her out, at herself for not being honest earlier, at the entire situation. I need to do this. I need evidence that clears my name. Not like this. It's too dangerous. I've been living in danger for a month. At least now I'm fighting back. Jemsa, are you going to help me or not? Long pause. I'll be there. But we do this my way, full security, exit strategies, and if anything feels wrong, you leave immediately. She wiped her eyes. Okay, I mean it. The second something's off, you walk out. Promise me. I promise. Another pause then. I'm sorry I didn't protect you from this. You didn't know. I should have told you. You shouldn't have had to handle this alone. Jemsa closed her eyes, fresh tears falling. This was the man she'd fallen in love with. The one who saw past his own hurt to understand hers. Can I see you? Before tomorrow? The response took longer this time. Not yet. I don't trust myself to see you right now and still let you go through with this plan. After we take him down, we'll talk. Really talk. About everything. It hurt, but she understood. They had a lot to work through. Her secrecy, his shutdown, the communication that had failed them both. But at least now there was an after to look forward to. Okay, after. Jemsa, I never stopped loving you. Not even when I thought. He didn't finish. I know. Me too. The next afternoon, Jemsa stood outside the hotel in Gangnam. The wire Minjae had fitted was barely noticeable under her blouse, but she felt hyper-aware of it with every breath. Her phone had one app open, a panic button that would alert the team stationed around the hotel. Jae-won was somewhere nearby. She couldn't see him, but knowing he was there made breathing slightly easier. Director Choi's message came through. Room 847. Don't keep me waiting. Jemsa walked through the lobby, each step measured and deliberate. The elevator ride up felt eternal. By the time she reached the 8th floor, her heart hammered so hard she worried the wire would pick up nothing but that frantic beating. Room 847. She knocked. Director Choi answered in a hotel robe, drink in hand, that same sick smile plastered on his face. I wondered if you'd actually show up. Come in. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But she thought of the past month, of every time he'd cornered her, of the way he'd destroyed her career and tried to destroy her spirit. She thought of Jae-won waiting, listening, ready to act. Jemsa stepped inside. The door closed behind her. So, Choi said, moving toward the minibar, let's discuss your future. Or rather, what's left of it. You understand that I've completely destroyed your reputation at the company. I understand you're a predator who uses power to hurt people. His smile faded. Careful. You're not exactly in a position to be self-righteous. Aren't I? You've blackmailed me, harassed me, touched me without consent. Prove it. He stepped closer. Your word against mine, remember? And given your recent termination for misconduct and the massive financial loss you caused, who's going to believe the desperate former employee over the respected director? You're right. My word alone probably wouldn't be enough. Exactly. So let's talk about what happens now. But a recording of you admitting everything? Jemsa pulled her phone out, the recording app clearly visible. That might do the trick. Choi's face went white, then red. You little. The door burst open. Jae-won filled the doorway like a storm given human form. 2 of his men flanked him, but it was his presence that dominated the room. All controlled fury and lethal intent. His eyes locked on Director Choi with the kind of look that had made grown men confess to crimes just to make it stop. Step away from her. Choi stumbled backward, the color draining from his face. You can't just break into. This is private property. Funny thing about hotel security. Min Jae appeared behind Jae-won, holding up a tablet. They're very cooperative when you show them evidence of a guest luring someone here under duress. We've been recording since she entered the building. Every word you just said. Documented. You're insane. All of you. I'll have you arrested. For what? Jae-won moved into the room with predatory grace. Protecting my fiancé from a predator? Try it. I'd love to see that play out in court, especially once we submit our recordings to the prosecutor's office. Jemsa hadn't moved. Couldn't move. Because seeing Jae-won now, here present defending her, unlocked something she'd been holding back for days. The tears came whether she wanted them or not. Jae-won's expression softened for just a moment when he glanced at her. Are you okay? She nodded, not trusting her voice. Good. His attention snapped back to Choi. You have exactly one chance to avoid this becoming very unpleasant for you. Sit down and start talking. I don't have to tell you anything. Min-jae pressed play on the tablet. Choi's voice filled the room. Blackmailed me, harassed me, touched me without consent. Prove it. Your word against mine, remember? That's edited, Choi sputtered. Taken out of context. Is it? Min-jae scrolled through the device. Because we also have footage from your office building. Glass walls, remember? Turns out security cameras capture quite a lot, including the past month of you cornering Ms. Park, touching her, making her visibly uncomfortable while she tried to work. Choi's face went from red to ash gray. Here's what's going to happen, Jae-won said quietly. Quiet was always more dangerous with him than shouting. You're going to write a detailed confession. Every instance of harassment, every threat, every time you used your position to abuse someone under your authority. Because I'm guessing Jemsa isn't your first victim. You can't make me. Can I? Jae-won took another step forward. You seem to be under the impression that you have choices here. Let me clarify. Your choices ended the moment you decided to hurt what's mine. Right now, you have exactly one option that lets you walk out of this hotel on your own legs. The threat hung in the air, unmistakable. Choi looked between Jae-won and the door, calculating. Whatever he saw in Jae-won's eyes made the decision for him. His shoulders slumped. If I write this confession, what happens to it? Depends entirely on your cooperation. Min-jae set a laptop and paper on the desk. Full confession, names of anyone else you've harassed, evidence of the blackmail scheme. You do that, and we'll consider keeping this between us, with the understanding that if you ever work in Seoul again, if you ever contact Ms. Park or any other victim, if you even breathe wrong, everything goes public and to the authorities. And my career? Over. Jae-won's voice held no sympathy. You resign immediately, citing personal reasons. You leave Seoul. You disappear. That's the price for me not destroying you in ways that would make the headlines very uncomfortable for everyone involved. Choi stared at the laptop like it was a coiled snake. But he sat down, started typing. Jemsa watched this man who'd terrorized her for a month reduced to a shaking, defeated figure hunting and pecking at a keyboard. The satisfaction she expected to feel never came. Instead, there was just exhaustion and a strange emptiness where fear used to live. Jemsa. Jae-won's voice pulled her attention. You should wait outside. I want to stay. I know, but you don't need to see this part. His eyes held understanding. Min-jae will take you downstairs. I'll handle the rest. For a moment, she considered arguing. But the truth was, she didn't want to be in this room anymore. Didn't want to watch Choi type out his crimes or see whatever else Jae-won had planned. She'd gotten what she came for. The truth, the evidence, the end of the nightmare. The rest was just cleanup. Min-jae held the door open. Jemsa walked past him, but paused at the threshold to look back at Jae-won. Their eyes met across the room. So much still unsaid between them, so much damage to repair. But the way he looked at her now, protective, concerned, still in love despite everything, gave her hope. She left. 30 minutes later, Jae-won found her in the hotel lobby. He'd cleaned up. No blood on his knuckles, suit still pristine, though something in his expression suggested Choi had learned exactly how serious the threats were. It's done. He signed everything, resigned electronically from his position, and is currently packing to leave Seoul permanently. Did you? Nothing that will leave permanent damage. Physically, anyway. Jae-won's jaw tightened, though I wanted to do much worse. They stood in the busy lobby, Seoul's evening crowd flowing around them like they were stones in a river. So close yet still separated by days of hurt and misunderstanding. Can we talk? Jemsa asked. Really talk this time? Not here. Jae-won gestured toward the door. Come home. Please. Home. To his penthouse, where she'd been turned away days ago. Where they'd spent countless nights wrapped around each other, planning a future that had almost shattered completely. The car ride was silent. Not the comfortable silence they used to share, but something fragile and uncertain. Jae-won's driver kept his eyes on the road, giving them what privacy he could. When they reached the penthouse, the same security guard who'd turned Jemsa away looked stricken with guilt. Mississippi Park, I'm so sorry, I was just following orders. It's okay. She meant it. None of this was his fault. The elevator ride-up felt longer than it should. Jae-won stood on one side, Jemsa on the other. The space between them filled with everything they needed to say, but didn't know how to start. The doors opened to his penthouse. Nothing had changed. Same furniture, same view of Seoul's glittering skyline, same everything. But it felt different, like they were visiting a place that belonged to different versions of themselves. Jae-won poured 2 glasses of water. His hands were steady, but Jemsa noticed the tension in his shoulders. The same tension he carried after difficult negotiations, when the adrenaline wore off and reality settled in. He handed her a glass. Their fingers brushed. Both pulled away too quickly. "I owe you an apology," he started. "So do I. Let me go first." Jae-won set his glass down, facing her fully. "I saw what I thought was betrayal, and I shut down. Completely. Wouldn't listen, wouldn't give you a chance to explain. I blocked your calls, turned you away, treated you like—" His voice cracked. "Like you meant nothing to me, when you're everything." Jemsa's eyes filled. "You were hurt. That's not an excuse. I built my whole life on reading situations, on gathering facts before acting. But with you, I just reacted. Assumed the worst. And while I was busy nursing my wounded pride, you were dealing with something much worse alone. I should have told you from the start." She set her own glass down. "When I made that mistake, when Choi started threatening me, I should have come to you immediately. But I was ashamed. I thought I could handle it myself. Thought I could fix my own mess without dragging you into it. That's what partners do, though. We drag each other into messes. Share the weight. I know that now." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I kept thinking about how you see me, as someone strong, capable, someone who has everything together. I didn't want to be the woman who cost her company millions and couldn't even handle her own boss." Jae-won moved closer, though he didn't touch her yet. "You want to know how I see you? I see someone who made a human mistake and then survived a month of harassment without breaking. Someone who walked into a hotel room with a predator to get justice even though she was terrified. Someone strong enough to love a man like me despite knowing exactly what I am. I don't love you despite what you are." Jemsa met his eyes. "I love you because of who you are. All of it. Even the part that shut you out when you needed me most. Especially that part, because it means we're both human. Both flawed. Both capable of hurting each other even when we don't mean to." The space between them felt impossible to cross, and yet paper thin. "I'm scared," Jae-won admitted quietly. "Scared that I'll mess this up again. That next time you need me, you won't feel like you can tell me. That I've broken something we can't fix." "You haven't." Jemsa reached for his hand. This time, neither pulled away. "But we have to promise each other, no more hiding. No more handling things alone. No more assuming instead of asking. No more shutting down when I'm hurt. No more keeping secrets when I'm scared." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "Can we really come back from this? I think we already are." Jae-won pulled her into his arms finally, and Jemsa folded into him like she'd been waiting for exactly this. His heart beat against her ear, strong and steady. His arms around her, protective but not possessive.